I was first introduced to the Holga camera when I was studying photography at Nicholls State University. I was taking an alternative forms of photography class, and we had to use this camera for one of our projects. Now, I don't remember what the subject matter was of the project. I do remember we were required to use the Holga camera. Since then, I've come to love the strange images you get with this camera. The Holga camera origins begin in Hong Kong in 1982, where it was designed by Thibodaux. It was intended to provide an inexpensive mass-market camera for the Chinese working class. However, following its introduction to foreign markets, many photographers began using the camera to create surreal and dreamlike images. When these cameras first came out, they were only available in medium format, and in college I used a medium format camera as well. The one I currently use is a 35mm camera, and as you saw in the intro, it is loaded with Kodak Gold 200. The second location I brought the Holga camera to was Grand Isle State Park. One afternoon, my family and I decided to visit the park since we had not been there since before Hurricane Ida. We were curious to see how the rebuilding of the park was going. So I decided to take the Holga with me and take some pictures of the beach. When you hear the name Laurel Valley, you may imagine a valley farmland full of lush gardens and a large antebellum mansion. But the Laurel Valley plantation in Louisiana really doesn't have any of that, and is famous for the exact opposite. The Laurel Valley plantation is known for the 40 original structures consisting mostly of shotgun houses and Creole cabins, creating a glimpse into how a community was structured around the sugarcane industry. But before we go any further, let's go over the origins of the plantation. The origins of Laurel Valley begin in the year 1783, when Etienne Boudreaux received a land grant from the Spanish, who were in control of Louisiana at the time, and he established a farm that would eventually become Laurel Valley. The plantation went through several owners in the 19th century, and during the pre-Civil War years, it was estimated that 162 slaves lived and worked on the plantation. The current owners acquired the plantation in 1893. The sugar mill on the plantation closed in 1926. However, the site still remains a sugarcane farm to this day. Currently, Laurel Valley is the largest surviving 19th and early 20th century sugar plantation complexes left in the United States. Now that we know the history, let's go take some pictures. Sounds like an alligator, but I don't see any alligators. Let's get some pictures anyway. While Laurel Valley is famous for the slave village surrounding the crumbling sugar mill, the Laurel Valley Village Store and Museum are just as interesting. Located nearly 2 miles from the village along Highway 308 across from Bayou Lafourche, the current store was originally built in 1905 to replace the previous store that burned down. The Laurel Valley Village Store served the needs of the plantation workers as well as others who lived outside and near the plantation. In 1984, the Laurel Valley Store opened as a museum, and while not the originals, the 2 antique railroad locomotives located on the site are similar to those that would have hauled cane from the fields to the mill from the 1870s until the 1920s. Now, you're not allowed to walk around the Laurel Valley Village without a guide. However, you are allowed to walk around the Laurel Valley Village Store and surrounding grounds, even when the museum is closed. I just finished shooting that roll of Arista 200 and I was refusing to come out of that camera. And the results were pretty good. Now, considering it's a affordable film and doesn't have the fine grain or high sharpness of Tri-X 200, which is what I normally shoot when I shoot black and white film, I am pretty happy with the results. Now, I shot this roll of film using the Holga. And for those who don't know, the Holga is a camera made entirely out of plastic. Even the lens is plastic. And it has no electronic components, or it doesn't use a battery. And the results you get with this camera can be very dreamlike and surreal. And the reason I chose to use this camera is because I never shot in this particular location using the Holga. So join me as I take pictures along the Chauvin River in Morgan City and Berwick. Yeah. That's me on a rainy day driving to Cypremort State Park. The rain did eventually clear up and I was able to explore the park. Now, Cypremort State Park is located in St. Mary Parish on the Vermilion Bay. It was established on November 20th, 2004. It's also one of the few places you can access the Louisiana coastline by road. The man-made beach is nice and relaxing, but not as exciting as the beach at Grand Isle. Now, one of my favorite features of the park was the boardwalk through the marsh. It offers a dry and easy walk over the marsh, and at the end there's a clear view of Weeks Island Salt Dome. On this trip, I brought my Canon A1 film camera, and I shot a roll of color film and a roll of black and white film. Now, the lighting wasn't really the best for photography, but I just tried to get the best pictures that I could. But more importantly, I had a great time with my kids, exploring the park, and I probably will be back. Analog horror photography is what I created instead of some wholesome, nostalgic pictures of my family on our latest camping trip. Now you may be wondering, how did I accidentally create analog horror? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly how I did that. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is the place where I took the pictures, Persequent State Park in southern Mississippi. Construction began in the park in 1935. After the completion of the dam that created Lake Tangipahoa. The work was done by the Civil Conservation Corps, a government work relief program that ran from 1933 to 1942. The park was named after local politician Percy Quinn, who served in the House of Representatives from 1913 to 1932. The park is also one of the 9 original state parks built by the Mississippi Civil Conservation Corps in the 1930s. The next factor that led me to create analog horror pictures is the camera and the film that I used. This is the point and shoot Canon AF35ML. This camera was released in 1981, and the film that I used is double film Pacific 400. Now this film is a pre-exposed film and it's made to mimic the aesthetic of the 1970s. Anyway, enough of that and let's get to the pictures. The first group of pictures I took was on a walk from our cabin to the lake. This is the first shot I took and it immediately feels creepy. Even though it's a picture of my kids and I know it's my shadow in the foreground, there's something about this image that's just inherently eerie. As I got closer to the lake, it captured a landscape photo. But the picture came out too orange for my taste and a lot of the details were lost in the shadows. The last picture I got while I was down by the lake was of the cabin we were staying in. This image is one of my favorites on the road. A cabin in the woods is the setting for so many horror movies, and that's what this picture reminds me of. I also walked around the cabin and got this shot. I liked how the light was coming through the trees, but it didn't really translate to the picture. The next spot I went to in the park was where the lake meets the river. I've been coming to Persequin for a long time, and every time I come to the park, I always take a picture from the bridge and a picture of the bridge. Although these things don't normally look this creepy. Well, that's all the pictures I took at Persequin State Park, but I still had a few more exposures left on that roll of film, so I decided to finish that film out in another location. The reason we were camping is because every November there is a family reunion lunch that's held in Liberty, Mississippi, so I finished shooting this roll at Ethel Vance Park. The first shot I got there was of this parking lot. There isn't a whole lot going on in this picture, so I honestly don't remember why I took this picture. As I drove around the park, I came across this interesting spot where I could get a shot of the small road I was driving on. As I drove further, I was stopped by this gate. Now this picture of this gate fills me with a sense of dread and impending doom. It's as if this gate is holding something back, preventing escape. Well, that's it for Ethel Vance, and we made one more stop before heading home. The Little Red Schoolhouse in Liberty. Now this photo of my wife and daughter is what I was thinking all my photos would look like on this roll of film. But that didn't exactly happen. However, I will always be grateful for the happy accident of analog horror. And I highly recommend double film Pacific 400 if you're interested in creating your own analog horror images. Well, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. That's the Blue Mustang sculpture at the Denver airport, Lucifer, as it's more commonly known. Anyway, I want to talk about a collection of sculptures that's just as expressive as this one, and they're located in Chauvin, Louisiana. There's about 20 exposures left on this roll of film, so I thought, man, a good place to finish it out would be the Chauvin Sculpture Garden. Now, for those who don't know, the Chauvin Sculpture Garden was created by bricklayer Kenny Hill and is now maintained by Nicholls State University. And the sculptures themselves depict surreal-like religious imagery, which I think would be a good subject for the Holga. Well, I thought I was doing at the Chauvin Sculpture Garden, but still had a few more exposures left on this roll, so I came here by the overpasses and home and finish it out. Now this is the end of the video. See y'all on the next one.